Good morning and welcome back to Plannercraft. I'm Natalie and today we're going to be doing a layer design in Canvas. So first of all, hi to Thea, and any more hellos, Ian?
I don't know yet, I've got to find it.
Okay, just bear one moment while Ian finds... Oh, you probably need to turn the volume down too. Okay, so while Ian's doing that, just to quickly say I've popped up on Buy Me a Coffee this morning a shadow box workshop, which is where you're going to learn to design your own shadow box from scratch, right through to creating a lovely box for it to sit in.
Okay, so we have Deb, we have Judith.
Hi Deb, hi Judith. I think that may be Tracy. And Linda.
And there's Tracy.
And there's Tracy. Okay.
Did you say Deb?
I think I said Deb.
Okay.
Anyway, hello. So, Carol asked last week that I do a little bit of a lesson on layers in Canvas. So, layers are a bit different in Canvas to any other program in that every shape is a layer, whereas other programs use it as a kind of grouping. So, when we say about the layers palette... Hi Carol, hi Nikki. When we say about the layers palette, this is the one that we mean. Third icon down on the right hand side. So I'm using the desktop version of Canvas, and that's where we can actually work with layers. Whereas if you're working online, there isn't a separate layers palette like this. So if you want to do what I'm doing at the moment, you can do it, but it's going to be a little bit more tricky for you to do it online. Okay, so if at any point you have any questions, Ian is watching comments, so no question is too silly, and we will take you through nice and steadily. So, I'm wanting to create a layer design. Now, this could be for a card project, it could be a vinyl project. The setup is going to be pretty similar. And
Tracy says it's her favourite version of the desktop version.
Yes, much more powerful, the desktop version. So, we have, down our left hand side, this is our basic shapes button here, and the top button is the one that's going to be kind of our drawing tools, unless you really want to get into the pen tool, but we'll get into that in a bit. Then we have borders, your words. Now, after this, you will get certain kits will have different designs. So, I have the paper piercing, so there's designs for that. And I have the vinyl water blade, so there's designs for that too. And if you want me to go into those, just say in the comments and I can scroll through those so you can see what you get.
Hello, Carol says I'm trying to draw the windows in a new 3D project, not going well at the moment. Windows are fun. I've been doing windows. So, shall I very quickly do a little bit of a demo on Windows? Yeah.
So I'm going to do this nice and big. So let's zoom in. It's easy to see these things when they're bigger, especially if you're watching on something like a tablet. So there's our outside of our window frame. So now I'm going to go to Edit. I'm going to go to Offset, and I want to go inward, and let's give it a amount, so 0.1 of an inch. You want to change your corner type to bevel. It doesn't really matter when it's going inwards anyway, and you want to leave your original line as is and go OK. And then we get an inside guide. To this, I'm then going to add another rectangle. So we can bring that in. And we're going to resize that upwards. so that we have a rectangle that is roughly the same height as this one here. Or we can do it over here in our edit panel so that we know it is the same size. I'm just going to resize that back over there. So now that you've got several of these, we want to duplicate it down like so. But you also want to make sure that you put one that lines up with the bottom and one that lines up with the top. So all I'm doing to do that is just pressing and holding Alt and then clicking and dragging the shape, and that's going to create a duplicate. So that's a nice easy way of being able to put a duplicate where you want it. Then we can go into our layers. So in here you can see that you've got a little bit of a preview for what each layer is. It can be a bit tricky to see sometimes. That's when you can use things like colour to fill it in to make it a bit more obvious for you. But our bottom shape here is our outside window. That's our offset that we did, and then the rest of these are our thin bars. So we can select all of those. We're going to go back to edit and then into our align and distribute. So we can set it by a particular space, or we can just get it to work it out for itself. So I'm just going to go that one, and you're going to see straight away it's changed our alignment so that all these gaps in the middle are equal. Okay. Yeah, let's line them up to the left. Doesn't really matter because you're not going to see those bits in a while. Okay. So then we need to duplicate that. So press and hold Alt, click and drag. Then I'm going to rotate, and if you press and hold Shift it's going to lock it so it goes to the 45 and the 90 degrees. And again we can line that up over the top. Now if you're working in a square like this, nice and easy and job done at that point. And you've got yourself a nice window. So you may be going, right, okay, so I've got that. How do I then get that so it just cuts out these centre panes? So I'm going to get rid of those outside bars because we don't need those now that we've done our distribute. Okay. I'm going to select all those inside bars and just make sure that they are fitting within that outside square. I'm going to select my two squares.
Josie says knots and crosses.
Yep. Go to edit and subtract, which punches that inner square through the outer square so you have a frame. Then we can click and drag over the top so it selects everything. And we can weld. And there you go. You have a nice window. So hopefully that's helped, Carol. I had to do just a few of those yesterday, didn't I?
The windows on my picture it's supposed to be angles, not square ones.
Okay, so you want to do an angled one. So the theory is more or less the same, believe it or not. Now if you had warping in Canvas, then you could just warp it, but you don't. So Carol, I know you have affinity. You can draw it like this. Then if you hover your arrow to the right hand side of your shape, you're going to see it changes to two little arrows, one pointing up, one pointing down. If you click and drag at that point, then you can actually warp your shape so it becomes a parallelogram. And all the lines that are in here will follow that warping with it. So that's the nice easy way of doing it. You can then resize it as you need. So draw it straight first, then warp it. and hopefully that helps.
And then after he says that looks cool. And just said, that's great, thank you.
Okay.
And Canvas Chapter, watch us again to make sure that thanks now. There you go, Windows done.
Windows done. And now I've got them there, I'm thinking, it'd be quite cool to do something with that. Okay.
You could colour the things different colours and have patterns.
There's me thinking waffle. So if I set a colour.
That was me thinking, yeah.
Waffle. We could do, actually, I know what we could do. Let's go white. I'm going to bring in another square. And this is the one time that I do use colour, where I want to actually kind of work my way through the layers and actually see what's what. So with those two selected, I'm just going to align them to the centre. And if we go into our layers at the moment, our trellis shape is at the bottom and our outline shape, which is what we want as our background, is at the top.
Joyce says good morning.
Morning! So, in the layers panel, we can click and drag to drag that to the back. You can also use shortcuts if you've got the shortcut sheet. So that is now sitting at the back, and we can pop a colour in it so we can see what's going on. Okay. So it'd be quite cool to do a little bit of greenery that's going up our trellis. So
You use a border.
let's have a look, see what we've got. So we've got this one here. So let's pop that in. So our borders always come in really big because they're all designed to kind of go for a 12 by 12 layout. So we're going to shrink that down. And again, press and hold shift, and you're going to make sure that that rotation goes upright. Now, still a little bit big, so I'm just going to zoom back in,
Checking the beanstalk.
and I'm going to put some green in there so we can see that is that layer. Okay, so
Canvas, that's what you've done. We'll cut out each window and the window frame.
yeah, so what you're left with is literally a grid. So when you do that first offset, if you do that double the width of the space between, if that makes sense, then you give yourself a bit of an area for sticking. We haven't got a camera attached, but if you look on the pictures that I did for the windows on the house and zoom in, if you look at the bay window, you can see it's actually slotted in behind, so that basically that outside edge of that window frame is wider, so it will probably go up to where this brown finishes, and then this bit here that's the difference, that's where you put your glue.
Jason's jacking the beanstalk climbing up a chocolate bar. Because it looks like a bar of chocolate.
I was trying not to think chocolate. Okay, so we've got our one beanstalk. I'm going to put another one over this side. Now if we go into edit, we can actually flip that round the other way so that it looks like it's the opposite. Otherwise it can start to look like we've just duplicated bits rather than them actually being inherently different. So let's say you want another one, and we're going to pop it over here, but we only want it to go up so high. So what do? I'm going to bring that down like so. Now this is where you can start to use subtract. So I'm going to go back to my shapes, pick a square, doesn't have to be a square, it can be a rectangle, and we're going to place that over the top but lining up with our background piece. Now if we go into layers, we can see that it's sitting on top because it's the last thing that we've brought in. we're going to press and hold shift and the layer underneath, which is going to be our duplicate that we just made. We can go to edit and we can go to subtract. So there we go, we have our little branch. Now if you have a little bit that's hanging over, so if I zoom in, there's a little tiny bit of leaf here that's just floating, but it's still in that shape. So if we click twice, you're going to get nodes. And I can hear you all groaning, going, no, not nodes. That's okay. You're just going to click and drag over the top so that our nodes turn light blue. And we can just use backspace to delete them out. And then we tidied that up. So now I think it'd be really nice to put a flower here. So if you haven't already got one that is imported, or it might be that you've pinched one from another design, then instead we can just create one from scratch using our basic shapes. So if we scroll down to here, we've got these three here that can actually start to make some little 3D flowers for us if we want to. So I'm going to go for this little 6-petaled one, which is about as little as a big rosebud. So I'm going to bring that right down, and again I will pop a colour in it. So these needn't be the colours that you actually use, it's more so for your recognition of, okay, so that's there, and then when we start to build the strength in our layers underneath, which is what we're going to do next, then it's going to be really obvious where you need to change things. So next I need a circle, and again the circle's going to come huge.
They zoomed in quite a lot, so it will look massive compared to what.
Yeah. Oh. Now, if you find that you keep clicking on something that you don't want to move, if you go to your layers panel, to the layer that you don't want to move, go across, and to the right hand side of the little eye icon, you'll see something that says toggle lock. If you click that, it's going to lock it, which means that you can't then select it by accident. It's very handy.
You said, lock it in that. You don't say that the other way of being able to select the different layers as well if you're struggling with if it's.
Yeah, so you can select layers just by going through your layer panel here. To multi-select, you've got the ability to shift, and that will do multi-select in that sense.
Unless it's locked.
Unless it's locked, in which case you can't do it. If you want to do individual layers like so, then you need to be pressing Command on a Mac or Control on a PC. I'm just going to pop in some yellow for the centre of our flower. So now that you've created one, we can go and pop it over here. I'm not grouping it yet for a reason. Okay, so let's rotate our petals so they look a bit different. Let's go that way. Okay, and again we can take our shorter stem, press and hold Alt. Now you can see that when I drag this copy, it's going to drag it up to the top of our layers panel because that's considered a new shape. New shapes always go to the top. So we can then click and drag that back down to push it behind. So again, press and hold Alt, click and drag, Just going to pop it there. And next time, let's flip it first. And then go back to layers, click and drag, and there we go. Go on.
I think he said I love using the layer patterns, it saves lots of hair.
Yeah.
And Tracy agreed.
Yeah. That is one of the big reasons why I think the desktop version of Canvas is so much better than the online one. There's a couple of times when the online one runs out, like the ability to do cut and draw layers. So in other words, you can have a shape that is both rather than having to be one or. Because there are times when you do want to be able to draw that shape and cut it. For instance, if you want to do a coloured border with a thicker pen, or if you're using the Sharpie pen holder from Carl, then that's the time when you would want to do a cut and draw. Okay, so now that we've brought in our rectangle, we're going to use our Command or Control button to pick those other two stems. Now if we were to do subtract at this point, you're going to lose one of your stems. So here's a little quick tip. Select your rectangle. Down the bottom of your layers palette, you might struggle to see this on screen, but just down the bottom here there's a little tiny icon that is two boxes with a plus symbol in. That's your duplicate button. So we're going to click that and it's automatically going to bring it in, down and across. So I'm going to move that so that it lines up roughly with the top of the other one. Okay?
Tracy says I just duplicate that cut and draw layer and then put draw first and cut.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to do our subtraction one stem at a time. So select your box and your stem using your Command or Control key, and then we can go down to our process overlap and subtract. Now you're going to notice it's going to pop back up to the top because it's a new shape, because it's done that calculation. So always bear that in mind. If you want to just work on here rather than using the layers panel, if you press and hold shift, you can select the rectangle too, and we can do the same again and subtract. And again, that's going to bring it up to the top. So we can then take it down. So what I'm doing to just use the keys to go through those layers is press and hold Command and then open square bracket to go downwards. So on a PC that's Control and open square bracket, and we can take that down to there. Now if we do Command Shift and open square bracket, it's going to go right down to the bottom. So then we can use Command and close square bracket to move back up. There we go. So we have a little bit of a floor design going on. And let's pop on a sentiment oval or something like that. So I'm going to go for this thin oval here. Bring that across. So when you're bringing in shapes, it's always going to go to that top corner if you just click. And let's bring that in there. And I'm going to pop a dark green for a fill. We can go to Edit, Offset, and again we want to go inside. And we can use that same measurement that we used here. We can go OK.
Carol said it looked good then because it was growing at the back of the trellis when you had it behind the...
Yeah, you could certainly do that. Does change how you can do your layering a little bit, so if you fancy getting a bit more advanced, when I do the merging, you're going to want to create an extra duplicate of your trellis. You'll see what I mean. Okay. So then on our oval we can put our text. So text tool. So we're going to click on the T. We can choose a font when Mac's not trying to be. There we go. Let's go for what font shall I use? Child's Play. Okay. Down a bit more. A bit more. There we go. I can't remember which one it is on here, so let's go for that. And let's put retirement. So with text in Canvas, you can only ever do one line at a time. It's not capable of doing multi-line text. So I tend to go for my biggest word first, and then go from there. Then I can go back to my text tool and type and click on the mat again, and then we can put on your. And again, that's going to come in huge, so I shrink it down. Like so. So with those, we want to go to our layers palette, and you can see all of our layers have little knives next to them. Now if we click where that little knife is, you can see that you have the option to cut or draw, and I have pierce too because I have the paper piercing kit. So I'm just going to set that to draw. Now usually to help me in terms of actually putting this together, I colour text blue on the outline. So I'm just going to click on the outline up there, colour it blue, and that way we know that it is going to be drawing. Now with the fill, because it's a single line font, I'm going to take the opacity down to 0, and it's going to go to having this black and white box. Now that means that something is transparent, so in terms of your machine, it's not going to try and fill that text, because otherwise you're going to end up with something that looks very fuzzy and it takes a very long time. So we can do the same again. Line colour, blue, our fill's already transparent, and set it to draw. What do we think? Do you think it needs anything else? No, I think we're going back through. Okay, so design is done. Before you go any further, save it. Save file, save as. Not in that folder. Let's go on to the desktop. New folder. Layered design, and we'll call it trellis retirement. Yeah. Okay, so with that saved now, we can start to work on the rest of the design. So at the moment, if we were to put this together, our beanstalks are going to go up and down like a bumpy kind of finish, because we've got that trellis underneath. Now if you're going to do foam pads, what I'm going to do next isn't going to be necessary, but if you want to have a nice smooth finish, I'm going to show you how we can actually build up the layers underneath so that we get a nice panel. So first of all, because this will be mounted up 3D, we're going to hide that away and forget about it. So in your layers panel, you've got these little eyes, and we're going to click on those to turn them off. And that means as it's not visible, it's safe, it's locked. You can lock it as well if you really want to go to the extreme. There you go. So our centres of our flowers I'm going to put all together like so. Now because our flower shapes are solid underneath, we don't need to merge those or worry about it. However, our flower shapes sit on top of our beanstalks, so we do need to weld a copy of those to our beanstalks so that it's nice and flat when we stick them together. So the way I would do it is I'm going to duplicate it, and you're going to find that they offset. You're then going to want to position it back over the top like so, and we're going to drag them down. I'm going to take them right down to the bottom, so underneath all of our beanstalks. The reason being that then I can turn these off. So all these ones here I'm going to turn off. So we're just looking at the back sections. We're going to select our beanstalk and we're going to select our flower. So just press and hold shift to select both and then weld them together. Then ta-da! And we're going to do the same for each of our beanstalks. Weld and weld. There we go. So now when we go back to our layers panel, you're going to see that they've popped up here because they're all new shapes. We're going to select them all and we're going to drag them back down underneath our original flowers. Okay, so now we need to do the same for these shapes to our grid. So again, we're going to shift and click so that we've got all of our beanstalks selected. We're going to go duplicate. We're going to move them so they line up. Okay. Then press and hold Command or Control if you're on a PC, and we're going to click on the grid. Okay. We're then going to go to Edit and we're going to go to Weld. And if it will behave, there we go. So now you can see it's turned it green. Don't worry about that. You can just change it so it's back to being white. Like so. Oh, we'll go this line colour back, even though it doesn't really need it. Okay, so now we're going to take that grid back down so it's just above our brown layer. We've then got our green. We can turn on our flowers again and our centres as such. So then we've got a nice solid surface for our panel, which means that when we come to actually put on our 3D panel, it's going to be nice to build upon. Ta-da! There you go. So hopefully you've enjoyed that this morning, and if there's any questions, do say now. Yes. Well, you've got a little bit of a speech there, haven't you? So I'll let you.
No, you do it.
No, it's okay. You know what you're talking about. It's your baby.
Right. Anyway, for those of you who've seen it before and my foil shield, you all know that we've been looking at getting it made into a more stable form, so it's going to be plastic, and we now hopefully have found somebody who can make them for us. So we are looking at doing the pre-order for them and launching that soon. What we do have to do when we launch it is that they take, if we're doing a bulk order, it's going to take, depending if we say to a bulk order of 20, it's going to take roughly around 3 weeks for it all to come back, for them to be ready to be shipped all at once. So just to make you aware, there could be about a 3-week delay from pre-order
To receiving.
to receiving, when people do want to order. We're looking at getting a prototype by the weekend, so hopefully then we will be able to show the new prototype and what templates we're going to include, and then we'll release the pre-order then, ready for people if they want to want to purchase. It's not just for the foil though, Carol. I mean,
no, we've had a few other ideas for it actually. So it's the foil shield name that it has at the moment is possibly changing. So I've thought of a few different things that we can use it for, and I know Ian's looked at lots of different inserts that we can start to actually build onto it. So although you'll have the outside frame and the initial sets, there's going to be some others. And will you show your advent triangle? I did say to Ian, oddly enough, do I show it on stream? And Ian said no.
We can't today because we haven't got a camera set up.
Well, no, we haven't got a camera set up. So if you twist his arm nicely, he might show you tomorrow. I've also put up, for those of you that didn't quite catch the beginning, I've put up a workshop for shadow boxes so that you can learn to make either, and you get to choose, either a festive shadow box or you can go spooky, because I know not everybody likes Halloween, so I thought I would give you the option of both. So you got festive or spooky. So rather than Christmas and Halloween, festive or spooky. Just in case, you want to do snowflakes rather than doing
pumpkins.
Yeah. Can you use it for card making too? Yes, you can.
It's good for your batch making as well because it gives you a placement for putting exact where you want to put it back. So if you're making lots of the same card, I've also put some circles on the current templates, so that it's not just.
It's not just foiling anymore.
It's not just foiling anymore. No, I thought because I wanted to make it as versatile as possible. Obviously, because it's.
You want it to be something that you keep on your desk and you keep using and using and using.
And we have, like Natalie said, we have the option that we can, the templates that go in the middle, we have the option that we can make virtually, if somebody says, oh, can you do a parallelogram or a hexagon or an octagon or
if you're doing like the tags for champagne glasses and you need to do a whole bunch of them.
We can then get those templates printed as well. So as long as you give us a bit of notice, we have the supplier can do it on demand for us, so we get it printed. So there we go.
And the Christmas House workshop will be going live once we have a print quote, because there's going to be two options. You can have it as a cut-only workshop, or you can have it as a printed kit and workshop. So whether you just want the cut files and you just cut it out a white card and you do whatever you want to it, or if you want to actually be supplied with the printed card that you actually cut out from, as we're looking at doing 12 by 12 prints for that, just so that things actually fit. So hopefully that should see us through to sort of October, mid-October.
Mm-hmm.
At which point there'll be some more workshops going up. I'm aware that we have quite a few new beginners in the group, and also that there are people upgrading to the DXs. So I'm probably going to run another Intro to DX class coming up as well. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know and I can work out a date. So that's I would say take care for now and bye.